Holy Lent, the preparation week that we're in, and then Lent is going to start. So before this talk, of course, I was panicked because it feels very like, Lent is a big deal. And the devil is always fighting it. Okay, I could like barely see anyone. I'm already too short. I might just stand. Um, so anyways, I was praying and I was like, God, I feel for them this age because I can remember when I was, in my 20s, and the world now I think is even harsher, like outside. I think people are even more self-centered now. I think there's like less empathy now. It's hard to start your life where you are, and I just kept saying to God, like, I don't want to think that I know exactly what they're going through, because I actually think it's way harder what they're going through now than when I was their age. And I do remember this period being a little bit hard because you have like expectations, things you want to do, things you want to accomplish, and it feels like you're kind of in a state of what's next sometimes. Anyway, God told me, just sit down. He was like, is this too loud? Am I very loud? Okay. He said, sit down, and I'm going to have you learn and digest the story of Elisha the prophet. So Elisha was, a prophet. Obviously, he came after who? Elijah. And we know in the book of Kings, yes, some people are coming to the circle. We know in the book of Kings there was 2 tribes, and all of the kings in Israel were corrupt, right? How many kings, does anyone know, were in the tribe of Israel? Close, not 20, but 19, and they were all bad. And then Judah had also 19 kings and queens. Most of them are bad. I think there was like 8 good ones. But the most repeated sentence in the book of Kings is, I have to try to remember it. And their hearts were far from the Lord. Like, it's repeated constantly. So basically, we are in a tough time. Elijah was in a tough time. So as I was remembering my time, in the world as a young professional, God was telling me, yeah, Elijah had a tough time, but guess who had a worse time with more corruption? Elisha. Elisha had even more corruption happening, but Elisha did double the miracles. Elisha had double the spirit of Elijah, and God said to me, do not look at the world. Do not think about all of the things around us, but see the truth that God will never leave his people, and he will always find a light to be a light in the world. And so he's calling us today that even if there's few of us, to be that light in the world and to take this Lent as a time to be able to see through his eyes. So Elisha the prophet, he didn't just prophesize about the coming of God. His life, like his actual life and the miracles he did, were a type of Christ, and by his life, it was a prophecy. Do you see how amazing that is? Like it wasn't just his writings, it was his living. And we're going to go through some of the miracles he did and how they were a type of Christ to show us when Christ comes the same miracles. So how does a human, because he is a human, how does a human who comes after Elijah, who we know was incredible, how does he reach to this amount of love from God that God pours into him to this level? So we're going to talk about where did he start, and then we're going to, go to the next part. What's the secret? We're going to open 1 Kings 19, verse 16. The first thing he did is he left everything. He left everything. So, verse 16, if someone can read. Oh, wait, is this the right one? 1 Kings 19. Oh, maybe it is 2 Kings. No, it's 1 Kings. Hold on. Let me find it first. Is it right? Okay. Yes. Okay, yes, thank you. It is right. It is right. I'm just going to read it. Oh, you got it? Okay, thank you.
Then the Lord said to him, Go return to your ways to the wilderness of Damascus, and when you arrive, anoint Hazael as a king over Syria. Also you shall anoint Jehu, the son of Nimisi, as king over Israel, and Elisha, the son of Sabat of Abel Meloah, you shall anoint as a prophet in your place.
Okay, you can keep going.
And it shall be that whoever escapes the sword of Hazael, Jehu will kill, and whoever escapes the sword of Jehu, Elisha will kill. Yet I have reserved 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that shall have not kissed them.
Oh, thank you. So here he was telling Elijah, your successor is going to be who? Elisha. So he was telling him, your successor is going to be, I call him Elisha because I just can't get it the other way. So we're going to go to verse 21. We're just going to skip ahead. And if somebody else can take the mic. Thanks, Rahil.
So Elisha turned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slaughtered them and boiled their flesh using the oxen's equipment and gave it to the people. And they ate.
Go up one more. I'm sorry. Go to 20. 19. Sorry.
So he departed from there and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he was with the 12.
Okay, you can stop right there. So what is Elisha doing? What's he doing when Elijah finds him? How many oxen does he have? So he has 12 oxen. So at this time, that means he's plowing with 12 oxen. So he has a small piece of land or a huge piece of land, you think? Huge. He is extremely rich, extremely wealthy. He's standing on the biggest plot of land. He comes from a very wealthy family. People then would be lucky if a farmer has 1 or 2 oxen. He has 12 that he's just plowing with. Okay? Elijah comes. What is Elijah wearing? Who knows what Elijah used to wear? Think like John the Baptist, right? Like the animal hair, he's coming, he's a man of the wilderness, okay? And this man, Elisha, he is standing in his mansion, okay? In our world, who has power? The mansion. Elisha has power. But let's see what Elisha does. Let's keep going, Rahil.
Then Elijah passed by him and threw his mantle on him. And he left the oxen and ran after Elijah and said, Please let me kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow you. And he said to him, Go back again for what have I done to you? So Elisha turned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slaughtered them and boiled their flesh using the oxen's equipment and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he arose and followed Elijah and became his servant.
He became his servant. He sold everything. He got rid of all his wealth, and in an instant he became his servant. Did he leave his wealth to become a prophet? No. He actually became Elijah's servant for many, many years. Who can kind of guess what he was doing with Elijah as his servant? Or think about it. Who knows? Give me some tasks he was doing as a servant. Preparing food. There's a point where he was washing Elijah's hands. He was, taking care of like the housework. Maybe making the travel plans. Yeah, Shanta boy. Yeah. I mean, very, very simple tasks. What kind of person leaves their mansion to go and prepare food for this man from the wilderness? A very, very, very special person. One in very few millions of people would do this, but he loved God so much that he would do whatever task for God to please his heart. There was no task that was too small to serve. There was nothing that he wouldn't do. He had the ultimate humility, and he did this for years. And he didn't look down on him. He kissed his hand. He's chasing him. I mean, it's unbelievable. So that was his first secret. He left everything to become a servant. He left everything. That was his first secret, and that's why God chose him to be a type of Christ. The next thing is very important. He took Elijah as someone who's going to disciple him. Do you think that nowadays with ChatGPT and all the knowledge we have, is it easy for me and you to be discipled nowadays? No. Why is it hard? Let's discuss. Yes. Yeah, nobody wants to be discipled because we're all climbing our own ladder. Okay, good. What else? Yes. Easy way out. Explain. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because that's what I was going to say. Like, ChatGPT could make us an expert on anything. Like, I don't need to be discipled. I have access. You guys have so much access. I mean, I have access, but I don't know how to use it, thank God. But, you have a lot of access, and it makes it hard because everything is up here. Even like the shows my little kids watch, well, no, they're not allowed to watch, but that they're being told to watch, but they don't watch. It's about just focus on yourself. Don't let anyone feel self-assured. Don't let anyone, tell you what to do or who to be or what to think. These are all really serious matters from the devil, because we all need to have someone that we look to tell us with the Holy Spirit what it is that we need to work on, what it is that my spiritual world needs to be. For us, it needs to be our Father of Confession first and foremost. So when we're sitting with our Father of Confession, we need to sit and know that the Holy Spirit is in that room, and We are not there to, like decipher and check on it later. We're really there to be open and be discipled. And that is how Elisha was with Elijah. He was like stuck to him. He was not going to leave his side. The other thing that stops us, so it's like access to things, we're climbing our own ladder, we're a little bit self-centered. We also have a great deal of pride. I mean, we just need to be honest about that, and Lent is the time to really put that before our fathers of confession and really see, like, what is it inside of me that makes me think I already know? I don't need somebody to tell me because I already actually know the answer. And if you tell me the answer, I might debate you. I might just, what is it in Arabic, like kabbar? Like it's a term, like I might just be like, yeah, okay. Yeah, pass by, yeah. And then I will ignore you at the end anyway. So we really need to focus in Lent on like this old man and recognize that actually Elisha, as a very wealthy, powerful man, was able to display this level of humility. So God is able to work and to, and to create that in our hearts. The next thing, so that was the second thing he did was the discipleship. The next thing he did is in 2 Kings 2. 2 Kings 2 was when Elijah was being taken up to heaven. And he kind of like, I think, knew it was coming. And at that time, everybody was terrified of seeing the face of God because they were thinking of the times of Moses and like, thinking they're going to die. So Elijah was telling Elisha, stay back. Don't worry. You go this way. I'm going to go this way. You don't worry about me. Three times, Elisha tells Elijah, as the Lord lives and as your souls lives, I will not, who can finish that? I will not leave you. He had the ultimate loyalty and love for his mentor, for his brother. Matthew 22 tells us that as you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your minds. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. He knew God, and he loved his neighbor as himself. And 3 times Elijah told him, don't come with me. And 3 times he told him, I will never leave you. I will not leave you just because you're in a bad mood and I want to go hang out with my friends. I will not leave you just because you're being unreasonably mean to me today. I really pray that all of us find that person in our life. And I'm not talking about your spouse, because your spouse, it's different. The love of a spouse is just completely different because it's also like the Holy Spirit and, I'm talking about, and I'm not talking about even family, I'm talking about that one friend that you can love unconditionally. That when they tell you something, it's not, oh man, that seems like really easy for them. Like they're making more money than me. I wish I was making that much money. Or, oh, they're having some drama. I gotta kind of, like let me not get myself involved in that. Like we have to learn from Elisha his intense loyalty. Even when Elijah asked him, what can I give you? Like, what can I give you before I go to have it, before I leave? What did he say? Double portion of your spirit. He admired Elijah. He knew that God was in Elijah. And he said, I want that. What you have, I want. Like, he's not even going outside of it. I pray that we can really think about in our lives, do we have those friends? And if not, am I being that friend to anybody? Where I can say I love them unconditionally, even if they hurt me, even if they are being rude, even if they're being I don't know, grouchy or something, and I want to go have fun with my friends, I'm not going to leave them. So those are the three things that Elisha had. They're pretty simple, right? They're not like very complicated. I mean, right? Wouldn't you say? It's not like the most complicated thing. He just really wanted to be with who? With God. He wanted to be with, and with Elijah, and with, like, he wanted everything to be about God. He just wanted to be in the place that God wanted him to be. He didn't think about it. He didn't think about the world. He didn't think about what he's leaving behind. That's all he wanted. So anyways, this is all to say that this closeness resulted in him getting to the point of glory, because he believed in the things that are of God. So he ultimately became a prophet, that his miracles by his hands are a foreshadowing of God himself's miracles when he was on earth. Imagine that you are a human and your actions, Jesus is going to do after you. Can you imagine? It's unfathomable. It is unfathomable. But that is how much God loves a heart that just seeks him. It's simple stuff that we just can't seem to grasp. We are so blind thinking about all the things in the world, and Elisha is like, I don't need this mansion, take it. I don't care. Where's Jesus? Where's God? So we're going to go through some of these miracles that, our minds can't fathom. The first one is in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. I'm getting better, Monica. If somebody who has the mic can read. Thank you.
Chapter 4, verse 1 through 7.
Yes.
Now there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha, saying, Thy servant my husband is dead, and thou knowest that thy servant did fear the Lord. And the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen. And Elisha said unto her, What shall I do for thee? Tell me, what hast thou in the house? And she said, Thine handmaid hath not anything in the house, save a pot of oil. Then he said, Go, borrow thee vessels abroad of all thy neighbors, even empty vessels, borrow not a few. And when thou art come...
Oh, sorry, can you go back? I'm just going to stop you right there. So we know this story. The widow, she lost her husband. She's basically about to die. I mean, she has no food for her and her son. She's looking at Elisha to save her. Is Elisha poor at this point? Completely poor, as many prophets are, because they don't care about this silly stuff. So he has no money to give. What could Elisha have done? God, why did I sell all my, oxen? I could have saved it, and I could have given it to the poor, and couldn't he have done that? No, he didn't do that. But he doesn't have a plan at this point. He literally has no plan. I think sometimes we read the Bible and we think, oh, they're getting secret messages from God. No, they have no idea. They're just human. They're like us. But what does he have? What does he know? He has faith, and he knows God's heart. And he knows God is going to do something because he has lived with him for this amount of years, and he just knows. So he tells her in verse 3, borrow vessels from everywhere. Okay, you see how much he knows God is about to do something amazing? He's like, don't just use the vessels in your house. Go and ask everybody for vessels. And just to make sure he's making it very clear, he says completely empty. Don't go try to find oil, like try to do the work of God and Bardu think of the world. Go find empty vessels. I need like a lot of space. They need to be empty. There need to be many. And he says again, do not gather just a few. Don't ever think that God is this big. When we pray and we ask God to give us his heart and his love, to heal us from our sins, to give us a heart that is capable to do the work that he wants us to do, we know that he can give us exceedingly, abundantly, more than we ask or even think. Even what I can dream, I have no idea the limit. St. Paul knew. St. Paul told us that while he was in prison. Like, that's how much he knew. So Elisha knows. He's telling her 3 different ways. Do not just get a few. When you know that God is going to work, open up your heart and have the capacity to accept as much as you know that he's able, and even actually more than you know. So Elisha knew the secret. He had no idea what God was going to really do at this moment, but he said, prepare yourself, widow, go get like as many as you can. Okay, so she goes. So continue to verse 4.
And when thou art come in, thou shalt shut the door upon thee and upon thy sons, and shalt pour out into all those vessels, and thou shalt set aside that which is full. So she went from him, and shut the door upon her, and upon her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured out. And it came to pass, when the vessels were full, that she said unto her son, Bring me yet a vessel. And he said unto her, There is not a vessel more. And the oil stayed. Then she came and told the man of God, and he said, Go, sell the oil, and pay thy debt, and live thou and thy children of the rest.
Very good. So he created a business for her. And it was as much as she could gather, she was able to fill. So he created a business for her, and, thank God. This is similar to a miracle that Jesus did. Who knows or can give me a guess? Yes, good. The wedding of Cana. So the wedding of Cana, when Jesus filled the wine, and it was better than even before. And so again, we see God using Elisha to show us what Jesus is going to do. The next thing that we have is raising the son of the Shunammite woman from death. And this is in 2 Kings 4, verse 8. Now, we know this story, I'm sure, but I want you to really pay attention to it with the eyes of how is this going to relate to Jesus. So someone who can read very clearly. Thank you.
Now it happened one day that Elisha went to Shunem, where there was a notable woman, and she persuaded him to eat some food. So it was as often as he passed by, he would turn in there to eat some food. And she said to her husband, Look now, I know that this is a holy man of God who passes by us regularly. Please let us make a small upper room on the wall, and let us put a bed for him there, and a table and a chair and a lampstand, so it will be whenever he comes to us, he can turn in there. And it happened one day that he came there, and he turned in to the upper room and lay down there. Then he said to Gazi, his servant, Call this Shunammite woman. When he had called her, she stood before him. And he said to him, Say now to her, Look, you have been concerned for us with all this care. What can I do for you? Do you want me to speak on your behalf to the king or to the commander of the army? She answered, I dwell among my own people. So he said, What then is to be done for her? And Gazi answered, Actually, she has no son, and her husband is old. So he said, Call her. When he had called her, she stood in the doorway. Then he said, about this time next year you shall embrace a son. And she said, no, my lord, man of God, do not lie to your maidservant. But the woman conceived and bore a son when the appointed time had come, of which Elisha had told her. And the child grew, and now it happened one day that he went out to his father to the reapers, and he said to his father, my head, my head. So he said to a servant, carry him to his mother. When he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon, and then died.
Okay, just 1 second. So this woman, she opened up her home for Elisha so that anytime he's traveling, he can use the upper room, right? When Elisha got to know her, he realized that she doesn't have a son and she desires a son. So he prayed and she had a son. Now the son has what? Died. So let's see what happens. This is the part I really want you to pay attention to.
And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, shut the door upon him, and went out. Then she called to her husband and said, please send me one of the young men and one of the donkeys, that I may run to the man of God and come back. So he said, why are you going to him today? It is neither the new moon nor the Sabbath. And she said, it is well. Then she saddled a donkey and said to her servant, drive and go forward. Do not slacken the pace for me unless I tell you. And so she departed and went to the man of God at the Mount of Carmel. So it was when the man of God saw her afar off, that he said to his servant Gazi, look, the Shunammite woman, please run now to meet her and say to her, it is well with you. Is it well with your husband? Is it well with the child? And she answered, it is well. Now when she came to the man of God at the hill, she caught him by the feet. But Gazi came near to push her away. But the man of God let her alone, for her soul is in deep distress, and the Lord has hidden it from me and has not told me.
Just stop right there. If you could just go back on the screen. So Elisha sends his servant and she doesn't tell him what's wrong, right? And she waits till she gets to who? Elisha, to unload. In some ways, it's the opposite of what we do. We go tell all our friends everything that's wrong, and then we go to God. But as a type of Christ, she's doing the opposite. She's like, yeah, everything's great. Like she clearly is in deep distress, but she knows she has to go to the source, right? So keep going.
So she said, did I ask a son of my Lord? Did I not say, do not deceive me? Then he said to Gazi, get yourself ready and take my staff in your hand and be on your way. If you meet anyone, do not greet him, and if anyone greets you, do not answer him, but lay my stuff on the face of the child. And the mother of the child said, as the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you. So he arose and followed her. Now Gazi went on ahead of them and laid the staff on the face of the child, but there was neither voice nor hearing. Therefore he went back to meet him and told him, saying, the child has not awakened.
Thank you. So Elisha used the staff that he's done many miracles with. That staff, is like the source of miracles. So he gives it to the woman, and it doesn't work for her son. Why? Because God ordains for this next step to happen, just to show how much he wanted to use Elisha to prophesize for the coming of Christ. So pay attention.
When Elisha came into the house, there was the child laying dead on his bed. He went in and therefore shut the door behind the two of them and prayed to the Lord. And he went up and lay on the child and put his mouth on his mouth, his eye on his eye, and his hand on his hand. And he stretched himself out on the child, and the flesh of the child became warm. He returned and walked back and forth in the house, and again went up and stretched himself out on him. Then the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes.
Very good, thank you. So what did he do? The child is laying on the bed, right? Elisha has now put his face on the child's face, and it says he stretched out his arms, and every limb of that child was the limb of Elisha. What is this representing? The cross. So Jesus is telling us he is the source of life, and in death, he will be our resurrection. And this was told to us through Elisha because his belief in God was so great. It was so great that even when the staff didn't work, he didn't say, oopsie, sorry. He said, no, I know God, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna pray more. I'm gonna pray for this. Taban, because he knew God, of course, he knew that, like, God had not said no yet, but he didn't give up easily in his prayer life. It wasn't like, first time I prayed, I used the same system, it didn't work. No, he continued. And God used him to prophesy about himself. So it's a very beautiful reflection for us that Elisha's just a human, just like us. There is really no difference between him and us other than we are so focused on the things of the world. He didn't care about that. He knew that there was far greater, that there was a far more important mission and goal for him. So he stretched himself out. And I pray that this Lent we'd also stretch ourselves out and we would ask God to use us in whatever capacity that he needs us. The next miracle that he used Elisha for is to feed 100 men. This is in 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 42. It's the same chapter. There's something very beautiful about it because I'll go up one verse. And one more. So, down one. I'm sorry. There's so many miracles in this chapter. So, it actually was 42. I was right the first time. So, the man of God brought bread, 20 loaves of barley, and he said, give it to the people that they may eat. Okay, next verse. His servant told him, what, shall I set 20, basically it's 20 loaves. He's like, should I set this in front of 100 people? Like, that's something like, our moms would say, like, what? No, that is like, it's better to not do anything than to give 100 people 20 loaves of bread. What does he say? Give it to the people that they may eat, for thus says the Lord, they shall eat and have some left over. He said it, they ate, and they had some left over according to the word of the Lord. What is this? 5 loaves and 2 fish, of course. Of course, in that, it was much bigger scale, 5,000, but this again shows us, believe, do not discount ever God's ability to work. The 5 loaves and 2 fish was in Matthew 14. Later in Matthew 14 is also when Peter walked on water, okay? And so in 2 Kings 6, chapter 6 now, there's a similar miracle that reminds us of that. It is, okay, I had the chapter, but I don't know what verse. I think it is verse 1, actually. Okay, so they were traveling to Jordan to find a different place, and then go to verse 3. When they were traveling to Jordan, they cut down trees. Verse 5, as one was cutting down a tree, the iron axe fell into the water, and he cried and said, alas, master, for it was borrowed. So the man of God said, where did it fall? And he showed him the place, so he cut off a stick and threw it in there, and he made the iron float. He said, pick it up for yourself, and reached out his hand and took it. This is like a very simple story. Like at first I thought this was like super something else, but it's very simple, really. It's just that this man borrowed an iron axe head, and that iron is very expensive, and it didn't belong to him. It's like if we lost a piece of jewelry. But God, like, he doesn't think, oh, this is trivial, I'm not going to waste my godly time. No, God wants to make sure that everything, every single thing that's important to us is important to him. And Elisha had that same mercy and love for people. So Elisha takes a wooden stick and then makes the iron float. Is that logical? No, of course not. So it shows that the God, who allowed Peter to walk on water, he controls the sea, he controls all the elements, and nothing. This is all like small stuff, guys. It's so small. We are I really should just talk about myself, because I feel like, why am I like this, God? Like if you think of Abraham, when Abraham and Lot got into a little tuffle about which land, what did Abraham tell him? I don't care. Whatever you want. Yeah, he told Lot, just pick it. Of course, Lot picked the really, really luscious, nice one. Abraham could care less because he sees something else. We are not even in the realm of this world seeing. And I really feel like God is telling us during this Lent, show me this other. Make me see you. Make me see all this that you see. Give me that heart that's not just focused on trivial things. Give me real joy. Give me that exceedingly abundantly where I don't care. So it's really beautiful to hear that God, he cared that this guy lost something expensive and, it was borrowed and he wanted to make sure he got it. The last miracle is very, very obvious of where it connects to the New Testament. But I want to read it because it's important for other reasons, which is it's in 2 Kings chapter 5. It's the story of Naaman. How much time do I have? I feel like I have time, but I also don't want to bore you guys. Naaman was a very important person. Okay, he was a commander of the army. He was like important. Like he was very important. So the one thing that he had, he was a mighty man of valor, but the one thing that he had that was hard for him was he was a leper. And, probably he was able to cover this, but inside he still had leprosy. Now we see what he does. I think we just have to read it because there's no way I can summarize it. It's so beautiful from the Bible. But one of his servant girls tells him, there's this man of God, he can heal you. Let's get you there. So if we just keep going. So, the king of Syria tells him to go. Keep going. Okay, let's read from verse 7.
And it happened when the king of Israel read the letter that he tore his clothes and said, Am I God to kill and make alive, that this man sends a man to me to heal him because of his leprosy? Therefore, please consider and see how he seeks a quarrel with me.
So at first, they thought the king was the man of God who was going to heal him. And then the king completely freaked out. And I just wanted to read that because it's funny. Like, we can't handle stuff too. Like, we can't make fun of him. I can't handle stuff sometimes. And then I'm like, what do you think? I'm like, the president? Like, how am I going to fix this problem? That's what this is doing. This is the light. He is the king. But he doesn't have God. So he cannot figure out a solution. Even the most powerful person without God has no solutions. Now let's see what Naaman did when he heard of this. He actually had mercy on the king. What Elisha did, sorry, go ahead. Verse 8.
So it was, when Elisha the man of God heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, Why have you torn your clothes? Please let him come to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel.
Very good. And Elisha here, he wants to glorify God. Like again, we have to remember his humility is extreme. He knows that God is huge, all-powerful, and everything else is very small. Keep going.
Then Naaman went with his horses and chariot, and he stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored to you, and you shall be clean.
Keep going.
But Naaman became furious, and went away and said, Indeed, I said to myself, he will surely come out to me, and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and wave his hand over the place, and heal the leprosy. Are not the Abana and the Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all of the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage.
Okay, this guy also I can see myself in, because sometimes God gives us the solution. Here's the solution, Monica. Itfaddali. You asked, here's the answer. But for Naaman, it was too simple and it was gross. Like, he's like, couldn't I wash in the rivers of Damascus if I have to wash? But also he says, I was expecting, if you could go back to verse 11, he said that you would wave your hand and then you would heal me. That's what I was expecting you to do. And how dare you not do what I was expecting you to do? I am so mad, I don't even care about being healed. It has to be my way or the highway. I am a prideful man, and I am a man of valor. I am not going to go in this disgusting river. If you need me to go to a river, it has to be a fancy river. Can't be a disgusting river. Okay, do you see how ridiculous? But really, I see myself in him. Because we want God to answer it exactly how I think he should answer it. And I don't know what I'm doing. So why would I, anyway. So keep going.
And his servants came near and spoke to him and said, My father, if the prophet had told you to do something great, would you not have done it? How much more then when he says to you, Wash and be clean? So he went down and dipped 7 times in the Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God. And his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of God, he and all his aides, and came and stood before him. And he said, Indeed, now I know that there is no God in all the earth, except in Israel. Now therefore, please take a gift from your servant.
Okay, stop right there. So of course we see the wisdom of his servants. Again, power and being important doesn't lead to wisdom. Who gives us wisdom? God. So his servants, who are just servants, have wisdom to tell him, this is what you wanted. Just go wash and you'll be done. You'll be clean. So next he says, okay, I believe in God. Please, can I give you a gift? And let's see what happens next. I just love this story. Keep going.
But he said, As the Lord lives, before whom I stand, I will receive nothing. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. So Naaman said, Then, if not, please let your servant be given 2 mule loads of earth, for your servant will no longer offer either burnt offering or sacrifice to other gods, but to the Lord. Yet in this thing may the Lord pardon your servant. When my master goes into the temple of Rimmon to worship there, and he leans on my hand, and I bow down in the temple of Rimmon, when I bow down in the temple of Rimmon, may the Lord please pardon your servant in this thing. Then he said to him, Go in peace. So he departed from him a short distance.
A beautiful miracle has happened. He's completely turned his life around. He believes in God, and also he's taken the action to say, I'm not going to worship at the idols anymore. I'm going to take 2 mules so I can worship the true God. Beautiful. Now, Elisha's servant hears all this. Let's see what he does.
But
Gehazi.
say it again.
Gehazi.
Okay, you knew it. Sorry. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, Look, my master has spared Naaman this Syrian, while not receiving from his hands what he brought. But as the Lord lives, I will run after him and take something from him. So Gehazi pursued Naaman. When Naaman saw him running after him, he got down from the chariot to meet him and said, Is all well?
You guys know what's happening, right? The servant was like, bro, this guy is super rich. Like, just take one little thing. Come on, we're poor. Like, just take one little thing. You healed him, did all the things. He's just showing us some appreciation. So the servant, he's like, I need to just get something. So he chases him down without Elisha knowing. Sorry, keep going.
And he said, All is well. My master has sent me, saying, Indeed, just now 2 young men of the sons of the prophets have come to me from the mountains of Ephraim. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. So Naaman said, Please take 2 talents. And he urged him, and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags, with 2 changes of garments, and handed them to 2 of his servants. And they carried them on ahead of him. When he came to the citadel, he took them from their hand and stored them away in the house. Then he let the men go, and they departed. Now he went in and stood before his master. Elisha said to him, Where did you go, Gehazi? And he said, Your servant did not go anywhere. Then he said to him, Did not my heart go with you when the man turned back from his chariot to meet you? Is it time to receive money and to receive clothing, olive groves and vineyards, sheep and oxen, male and female servants? Therefore the leprosy of Naaman shall cling to you and your descendants forever. And he went out from his presence leprous, as white as snow.
Thank you. So this is obviously, a very important lesson of, could we be missing the miracles that God is doing in our lives, in the people we know's lives? Because we are so focused on the 2 extra garments and the 2 pieces of silver. So Elisha was heartbroken that his servant, instead of glorifying God and saying, a lost soul has come back to you, has a very important man has now declared the glory of God. We're looking at the floor for little pieces of silver. So we need to be careful that, number 1, we have the ability to do these simple things that Elisha did, to turn our hearts to God, to be ready to be discipled, to be ready to serve in whatever capacity we can. Nothing is too small and nothing is too big, really, for God. And number 2, to be careful that when we see the miracles happening, that we don't just forget them or look at them for a second and then focus on the worldly things. It's so hard, like it really is hard, but the beautiful thing is that in Lent, God makes it really easy. I think, obviously, we know the story of Mary and Martha, and in Lent, it's the time, especially, to just sit at Christ's feet There's nothing we have to say, there's nothing we have to ask for, there's nothing we have to do. We just need to sit and listen, you know? And I would encourage you that, you know, in your prayer room, and if you don't have one, just put up an icon in your house or in your room and just sit under it. Don't even have to worry about having a plan. During Lent, just sit and say, God, your servant is here. Speak to me. Tell me what you want to tell me. It's going to take time for us to see the real life. We are bombarded, you are bombarded more with all the things that we said. And, you know, the ladder climbing, the knowledge, the pride, the, you know, the selfishness around us, the corruption, all of the things. It's impossible for us to reach any kind of real reality if we're not spending time just quietly sitting under Christ's feet. You know, in Song of Songs too, it's a beautiful thing to read during Lent because it's again just, you know, the idea of sitting quietly and reflecting just on God, not having a bunch of stuff to say. We don't need to say a lot in Lent. And God has a plan for each of us this Lent that is different from each other. He has something in each of us that he wants to work on, that he wants to pull out, that he wants to refine. And more importantly, he wants to use each and every one as a light for his kingdom. He does not want us to feel defeated in any way. So we need to really prayerfully ask God to fill us during this time so that we can be full, because this is really the season that fills us for the rest of the year, as we all know. So that's all I wanted to share. And I guess before we conclude, did anyone have questions or comments or anything to add about Alicia or anything else? Yes.
I want to ask about the idea of like Elisha or Elijah having like God after God's heart, or even David, as he known as after God's heart. Like, hopefully my question is not too complicated, but like for example, Elisha, since like from the beginning, when like the point when he left his family and he went